We've got on special guest, the head coach of Utah State Soccer, Manny Martins. Welcome to the show, Manny.
Oh, thanks for having me. Excited for it to be here.
And we've certainly been excited for the start of the season. Obviously, soccer kicking off the Aggie sports schedule. You take any pride that, soccer is the first sport really to get things rolling with Utah State athletics? Any pressure as well with that?
Well, I mean, it's just a matter of schedule, so not I wouldn't even say pressure. It's just fun that means the fall is here. It's something we look forward to for so long, all of our Aggie fans for all our sports, so we just kind of get to kick it off, so it's fun.
Coach, you've had a great run here developing this program and continuing to improve. And as any college coach anywhere with any team, you lose part of your team to graduation. You have to try to reload or reset to some degree. You have an advantage where the success you had last year, you lost some players, but you've still got a lot coming back, especially on the defensive side. And that clearly showed when your 2 games in Hawaii, pitching a shutout in both of your games.
Yeah, we're very fortunate. We have a lot of experience. We have some veterans who, for the most part, have played almost every minute of every game for the last 4 years. So they're at their best. They have a ton of experience, and they have so much passion for representing Utah State. So they go out there and work really hard, and are having a great year so far. I mean, only 2 games in, but looking good.
So, Coach, can you tell us what you saw in those first 2 games? Obviously, we see the scores 4-0 over Pepperdine, 3-0 over Hawaii. Kind of screams 2 games where you dominated, but tell us what you saw from your team in those 2 games where obviously you had a lot of success on the scoreboard.
Well, definitely see some consistency in our defending organization, our discipline, our effectiveness when it comes to defending, which has been a part of our identity. But one area that it's been sort of a little bit of a touch and go has been the scoring piece. We in the last couple of years we scored goals. I mean, we did fine last year. A lot of games where we left a lot of chances on the field, and that's an area where we're seeing the experience now starting to kick in. We have our starting group on the forward line. Busy was a senior, a fifth-year senior. No, excuse me, just a senior. And then we have Chambers and Words, who are juniors with a lot of experience, and it's starting to click. And so all of them have either scored or had an assist or both in both games. So it's really exciting to see that part of it starting to click.
Yes, that offense is probably the biggest thing that I was kind of watching for, because defense, kind of assumed the team was going to be able to keep up what it did last year with so many defenders returning. But I guess maybe speak more to the offense, to how some of those young players have grown on offense. Summer Diamond, Tessworth, Kaylee Chambers, all pretty young players returning. Like, how have they grown, and what's kind of different for them as they're trying to be more successful and finish more of those chances? What kind of changes from being a young scorer to maybe a more experienced and more effective scorer?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head, right? Experience. I mean, they spent the summer. I mean, I know Tess, Busy, Kylie, Kaylee spent the summer playing, and and obviously with the experience already having played the last couple of years, they're just a little bit more comfortable. They have a few more reps under their belt. There's just a little bit more of a confidence piece in those moments. It's also impressive that Summer, who spent the better part of the last 6-7 months not playing because she was recovering from a surgery, and she's also come in flying with scoring in both games already. So it's just it's an experience piece, but also a little bit of the chemistry that's kicking in with the group across the forward line and the midfield.
Coach, this was a game or a 2-game series in Hawaii where Shea Kircher-Pratt really didn't have to do a lot. I mean, it may not look like it. I mean, she only had a few saves here and there. Mm-hmm. But Certainly, she's going to be tested more as the season goes on. But what have you seen out of your keeper so far in this young season?
Well, we've actually played both keepers. So Cora started and played 90 minutes in the first game, and then Shea started and played 90 minutes in the second game. And statistically, it looks like they didn't have a lot to do. But, the majority of their job is to solve things before they even happen. So they're constantly organizing and communicating and doing a lot of preventative work. And they've done a fantastic job. Obviously, Cora, being a fifth-year senior, comes with a lot of experience, and it shows. It's really exciting to see where Shea is as a young player with a ton of enthusiasm and growing really, really fast. So the present is great and the future is bright, with this kind of talent here.
So I want to ask about the competitiveness of maybe who might get minutes there, because you mentioned you played both keepers, both had a 90-minute stints there in those two games. Obviously, you have Cora, who, as you mentioned, is the experience. I think that was, if I read the stat sheet, that was her first appearance, first minutes in an Aggie uniform. How much do you expect both of those two to play, or is one of those two going to end up playing a lot more than the other? Or is that something you're still trying to figure out?
That's a really good question. We're still trying to figure it out. The good thing is we have two starting quality goalkeepers. So that part is exciting. And they're a little bit different, so they have different qualities. So, different games may ask for different qualities and may favor one over the other. For now, we're going to just take it one game at a time, and then by the time conference starts, if there's a clear separation between 1 and 2, then we go in that direction. If not, we'll just keep taking it one game at a time.
Coach, we've seen this with when we've had conversations with a lot of different coaches across a lot of different sports. In your camp, when you're practicing, you're scrimmaging against each other, you really try to get a feel for what your team is. What's their identity? Who are they? What can they do? Do we have the right players in the right positions? And then you go play somebody, and then that reveals different aspects of your squad. Were there things that were revealed to you about your team after those first two games in Hawaii that maybe you weren't already aware of leading into it?
You know what? The funny thing, I would say yes, but those are things we need to improve upon. The quality, the potential, I saw it in preseason. And, in over 25 years doing this, I've never had a group that I felt was as prepared going into the season as this group was. And I told them that, and I don't think they believed me until we played those two games in Hawaii. And I think they have a little bit of an understanding of what it can be. At this point, the first two games were great, but there are still things we need to sharpen up. And we're going to come across teams that are going to present different challenges, and we need to be ready for that.
So we've talked a lot about how many returners this group has. I don't know if I've had a chance to ask you about some of the newcomers. I guess we did kind of mention a couple of them at goalkeeper, Cora and Shea. But who are some of the other newcomers maybe keep an eye on this season, players who will be playing big roles to kind of fill in some of the gaps that were left from the handful of departures from last season?
Well, I'm really excited about our newcomer group. There's a lot of quality. They're great kids working really hard. They're very, very intelligent and picking up all the nuances and roles and responsibilities and principles of how we play. And so there's quite a few of them already getting a lot of minutes. Some of the ones that are already standing out, Austin Miller, who's a local kid, graduated from Green Canyon. She's definitely hit the ground running. We got Ellie Hendricks now from St. George, playing a lot of minutes, pretty much coming in second in a rotation. We have Ada Wilson, who has got a really cool story. She's a kid from Utah, but her family moved to Tanzania, Africa, a year ago. So she was in Africa for a year, playing in a pro environment out there under an amateur status, and has come in and is really showing that experience and just brings a different life perspective as well to the environment. So definitely some really, really quality players that are helping us already. And then we have, Maya Moen-Meister, who joined us in January from South Dakota. She was Gatorade Player of the Year in South Dakota and has just also hit the ground running. So we have a lot of newcomers who are contributing, and as the season goes on, probably could play really big roles for us.
Coach, you're no stranger to facing big teams or teams from big conferences, and you do that in your home opener with Texas Tech on Sunday. What do we know about the Raiders and what kind of challenges they may pose for you and your team on Sunday?
They're a great team. Their coach actually is a really good friend of mine. We spent a lot of time together over the years doing work for U.S. Soccer. But he's been around a long time. He's a great coach. His program is always competitive. Last year, they made it to the Sweet 16. They were a preseason number 8. Super athletic team. They're a very much attacking force. They run at teams. So they're going to present some challenges. I mean, last year they were the only team we lost to 3-0, only team to score 3 goals on us and keep us from scoring. So we're excited for the challenge. I think we have grown. I think we've gotten a little bit better. So, we're looking to that test as, an assessment of where that growth is, because in the end, that's where we want to be. If we're going to play, in the Sweet 16 and an Elite 8 and the Final 4, we have to play those teams and see how we measure up.
Talking with Utah State soccer head coach Manny Martins. I wanted to bring up that loss to Texas Tech last year, 3-0 in Texas. Is there people are naturally competitive. Is there a feeling of, want to try and, I don't know if revenge is the right word, but, will you think you'll get a little more out of these players as they're trying to get back at that 3-0 loss from last year?
Well, yeah, I mean, if I'm completely honest, the 3-0 loss from last year means nothing to me today. I don't get hung up on those things. But I've also never gone to a game that I didn't have a plan or a desire, an aim to win. So the goal is to win, not necessarily because of the results from last year, but just because this is now our next game and the most important game at this point. Now, the 3-0 loss from last year is just maybe a little bit of a reference, in terms of how far we've come, if we can have a better result this year.
Coach, after this game against Texas Tech, it's basically a tour of Utah. You've got a lot of games throughout the state. Unfortunately, they're all on the road. Now you don't have to travel too far, but there are a lot of games in the state, and all against pretty good teams that are going to challenge you and your team. And it can be a pretty interesting schedule here coming up as you go from Provo to Orem to the University of Utah and in Salt Lake and even Weber State and Ogden. It's quite a schedule ahead of you just getting through the state.
Yes, and I'm excited about it. I love that we have this many, not just Division I programs, but quality Division I programs in the state. It just gives us an opportunity to play a little bit, even if it's not a home, still within reach for our community and our fans to come watch. But it's also, a great opportunity to showcase the talent that there is in Utah, because all of these programs have a lot of kids from Utah. It's also great because when we get a little further down, I think starting with Grand Canyon and going into conference, we can only travel 22. So with this road trips on the bus, we can take everyone, so we don't have to split up the team until the end of September, and that's always good for culture, good for the young players. So it's perfect. I'm really excited for it.
So what can you tell us about some of these other games that are on your home schedule? Obviously going to be playing a lot of teams on the road in the state of Utah, but you got Pacific that you're hosting on September 8th and Washington State on September 19th. How are these teams going to test you as far as, compared to all the rest of the teams in your non-conference schedule as you try and prepare for Mountain West play?
Yeah, I mean, every team's going to present a challenge. Obviously, the teams that are in state, they're all very strong. Some of them are nationally ranked. Some are getting votes in the national pool. And looking at teams that are playing in a Power 4 environment, they all present different challenges, also stylistically how they play. So every single one of those teams are a great opportunity for us to learn and grow. And then when you look at the teams from, like Pacific and Washington State, I mean, West Coast Conference is a great soccer conference. I mean, a team like Washington State that's coming from the Pac-12 that not too long ago was in the Final Four, to be able to have them come into, our field here and compete and sort of measure up to, they're a super athletic program. So how can we measure up with them athletically and just the experience that their program has? Again, for us, it's just another opportunity to see how we can hold our own against tournament teams.
But I guess
so it's.
Go ahead.
As I said, I think super excited to be able to have this type of competition.
Sorry, I jumped the gun there. Let you finish. Well, I think you've kind of answered another part of my question for you is just you had the opportunity to play well enough to get to the tournament, but then kind of see what still needs to be done to have multiple games in the tournament. And was that part of your thought process in putting this non-conference schedule together, or how do you feel like your team needs to continue to grow and able to be in a position to do that again or have a little bit more success than you had last year?
Well, that is definitely part of the plan. That's been part of the plan from day one. That's one of the things that was an objective, was not just to make the tournament, but to actually win games in a tournament. And all of it's a process, and we've been growing over the last 3 years. And the schedule, it's twofold. One is to prepare us to be able to compete at that level, and two is that if for whatever reason we fall short of an automatic qualifier, hopefully gives us a chance at an at-large bid into the tournament. So there's definitely a very methodical way that we schedule our non-conference to make sure that we get the most out of it.
Coach, you mentioned a minute ago some of your opponents getting votes in the top 25 poll. UVU was receiving votes. One of your future opponents, obviously BYU, they're ranked inside the top 10, but you guys also received votes. Same number of points as UVU got. Like, does that have any meaning to you guys getting that national recognition as one of the best teams in the country?
Listen, I always tell our team that the polls are just opinions of people, and the only one that really matters is the last one. But if I'm completely honest, obviously it feels nice because I see how hard our players work, how what the process has been over the last 3 years. So it is nice to get the recognition, but we have to take it into perspective, right? It's as much as it's nice, it doesn't mean as much if at the end of the season we fall short of the tournament and we're not in any polls. Then it sort of loses some of its significance.
Well, Coach, we really appreciate your time. Best of luck on Sunday, with Texas Tech coming to town, 12 o'clock there at Chuck and Gloria Bell Field. And congratulations on a very strong start to your season so far.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And for anyone listening out there, come out and support us. We have only a few home games, but they're all great opponents and opponents that we're going to need the support of our community to help us be successful and continue on the road to some fun days ahead.
Yeah, definitely. We'll look forward to watching you guys throughout this season.